Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Melissa Keller, and I'm with the Department of State. Today is our first webinar in this series that we're offering to help DRI and New York Forward project sponsors better understand our decarbonization compliance pathways. The focus of today's webinar will be on the Energy Star path, but I just want to also mention that we will be having additional webinars on the remaining paths. We'll be having one tomorrow on third-party certification, one on June 3rd for New York Stretch, and we'll also be offering an additional webinar to discuss the decarbonization of historic structures and buildings, and that'll take place on June 11th. Before we get started with the presentation, I just want to make a couple of notes here. First, as I think you might have heard a little bit ago, this session is being recorded. So we will be posting a recording of the webinar and the slide deck to our decarbonization webpage. So once the series is complete, you'll be able to find the webinars there. Second, I'd like to mention that if you have any questions during the webinar, please place them in the chat box. We'll have a little Q&A session portion at the end to answer any questions you might have. And then with that, I'd like to introduce Michelle Scordino with NYF. She'll be taking us through our webinar today. So thanks, Michelle. I'll kick it over to you.
Great. Thanks, Melissa. Hi, all. As Melissa said, I'm Michelle Scordino. I imagine that I've met some of you as I am the consultant who's overseeing a few of the regions throughout New York. And today, I also should mention I'm with NYF as a part of the decarbonization team for the DRI New York Forward programs. And today we'll be discussing specifically the Energy Star path. As far as an agenda for the today's session, we'll start up with a brief introduction of what the Energy Star path consists of. Also touch on the three decarbonization paths that are offered, and go into a little bit of how you might go about selecting which path would be the best for your project. Then we'll dive into some more of the Energy Star path details. Specifically, I'll be going over a background of Energy Star and the Target Finder tool, which is an application that's run through the Energy Star program. I'll lead a demonstration on how to use Target Finder, and then we'll wrap up and leave some time for questions. Okay, in summary, the Energy Star path consists of achieving an Energy Star score of 90 or better for demonstrating the decarbonization achieved through the DRI and New York Forward programs. Before I jump into the specifics of the paths that are offered as part of the decarbonization, I do want to just give an introduction of the various technical consultant teams that are a part of the decarbonization team for DRI and New York Forward. NYF, which is the company that I work for, is the lead contact for decarbonization. And we have 4 consultants that work in the different regions across New York. We can also provide technical assistance regarding decarbonization technologies and retrofits for existing buildings, along with the associated savings and cost with those upgrades. We can also provide reviews of energy models, provide technical assistance and consultation with green building certification programs, and as well as constructability and performance monitoring. In addition to our NYF team, we also are working with Paul A. Castrucci Architects, who can provide assistance specifically with building envelope design, as well as integrating passive house techniques into the construction of buildings, and also has a lot of knowledge on various NYSERDA funding programs that can be paired with DRI or New York Forward. We also have Cartman Consulting, who comes with a lot of knowledge on the New York City Energy Conservation Construction Code, as well as the New York Stretch Code, which is another path that you can select for decarbonization, as well as energy modeling. They can also provide energy model reviews as well as NERESCO. And then finally, we have 7 engineers who can provide MEP design review, as well as consult on biddability and constructability. So as many of you are probably aware, there's 3 different decarbonization compliance paths from which you can choose from. The first being New York Stretch, which is the state energy code that is more efficient than the Energy Conservation Construction Code of New York. It's approximately 7 to 10% more efficient based on various building types. Within New York Stretch, you can select from 2 options of either doing prescriptive improvements or performance-based improvements. And as Melissa said, this will be covered on June 3rd in a separate webinar. The second path is the Energy Star path, which is the focus of today's information. And the Energy Star path is a program that's run through the EPA that is a program that can determine building energy performance based on other buildings that are similar across the nation. To achieve compliance, decarbonization compliance, using the Energy Star path, this consists of achieving a Energy Star score of 90 or higher. The way that this is shown is by using a tool run through Energy Star that is called Target Finder. It's a very simple free online tool that you can use to put in some basic building information such as location and square footage, etc., and also the projected building energy consumption for your building, whether it be a substantial renovation or a new building, and then it provides you with that Energy Star score. And then the third path, the third-party certification path, which will be also covered in a webinar tomorrow. There's various third-party certifications that you can choose from, as shown on the list here, in addition to if there's a certification program that you're interested in, that's something that you could bring to us if it's not on the list already. This chart displays different considerations that you may have for which path might be the best option for your project. Focusing in here on path 2, the Energy Star path, this can be a particularly good path for new construction buildings, existing buildings that, substantial renovations of existing buildings that are going to be complete renovations. This is a good path for high-performing buildings with very low energy use. This can also be a good path for buildings that are already planning to do a building energy model with their project. For those familiar with Portfolio Manager, which is another tool that is run by Energy Star. And this is also a great tool, of course, for those who may be using an Energy Star score for some other purpose, or seeking credits for ESG reporting. One other consideration is that Energy Star, this pathway, does require simulating your annual energy use, which would also require using a building energy model. And that's something that we can work with you to discuss what program or method of determining your building energy use might be best for your project. As far as the documentation that's required, here we'll focus again on path 2, the Energy Star. So the first category is your ComCheck report. So ComCheck is another free online tool that allows you to select a certain reference energy code and input your building design information to to see that your building design is compliant with a certain energy code. So for the Energy Star path, your building would need to comply with the New York State Energy Conservation Construction Code. There will also be a video posted shortly onto the DRI New York Forward website, which walks you through the process of completing a CommCheck report. So that is something that will be made available, but is not a part of the presentation today. In addition to the CommCheck report, we would also need you to submit design drawings, as well as product specification sheets for certain equipment, such as HVAC equipment, lighting, and some other larger appliances as well. So at the final design stage, we would not need, of course, photos, but in the post-installation phase, when we do our final review of projects to see that they've met decarbonization compliance, we also would ask for photos of the installed equipment and kind of layout of the building. In addition to that, we also ask for a summary of your energy model for the Energy Star path, which would go into your into Target Finder. And finally, the Energy Star Statement of Energy Design Intent Report. This is what is generated. This report is what's generated through using Target Finder. So it may sound complicated, but it's actually very easy. To provide a little context and background on Energy Star, Energy Star is a program run through the EPA, which consists of certifying energy efficient products, as well as establishing building performance standards. The EPA was launched the Energy Star program in 1992, and in 2000 released Portfolio Manager, which is an energy tracking tool and management tool for largely commercial and industrial buildings. The goal of the overall program is to reduce energy while still accomplishing the same tasks in buildings. So that's what Energy Star equipment can do. Your washer, high efficiency washers, for example, are doing the same thing as more standard washers, but you're doing it with less energy and associated with less greenhouse gas emissions. By 2023, over 43,000 commercial buildings and industrial plants have earned an Energy Star certification. Before continuing, though, I do want to make just an announcement for those that may have not been aware. Earlier this month, there was news that began circulating that there may be plans to eliminate the Energy Star program as a larger part of restructuring of the EPA. However, there's little information known about this, just an overall lack of clarity on what that might mean, if it's an aspect of the program, if it's the whole program, if it is even the whole program. Does that mean that some of the tools that the program has established would be no longer available? So with that being the case, we're going to proceed with the Energy Star pathway as a viable option for decarbonization compliance. However, I do want to mention that if Target Finder, the tool, is deactivated, then we would be no longer able to offer this as a compliance path. So it is recommended that if you are interested in pursuing this path and you are far enough in your design that you would like to just select this and continue on, that you complete the Target Finder simulation and download the Statement of Energy Design Intent Report as soon as you are able, so that we can kind of lock you into that path. Okay, now diving into the specifics on what this Energy Star path consists of. Again, it consists of achieving an Energy Star score of 90 or higher on a scale of 1 to 100. And the way that this works is Energy Star is based on reviewing your building in comparison to buildings across the nation that are like that. And so essentially what a 90 or better says is that your building is more efficient than 90% or more of buildings that are similar to it across the nation. So this is done by using the application Target Finder, again, where you put in your projected annual energy use along with some basic building information, such as your address, your property type, the use type of the building, which can be multiple use types, along with square footage and etc. I briefly do want to mention also the Portfolio Manager tool along with Target Finder, because they are different, but they're associated. The Target Finder was kind of built off of Portfolio Manager. So Portfolio Manager is an interactive resource management tool that can be used for benchmarking the energy use for existing commercial buildings. So again, it's Portfolio Manager is where you would, on an ongoing basis, input your energy use for a building monthly, annually, etc., and it would compare your building over time, as well as in comparison to buildings that are similar to it. Whereas Target Finder is really an online calculator that you can use as an assessment to see what the performance of your commercial building might be, either for an existing building or for a new building. And again, it is kind of like part of the Portfolio Manager platform, but it is separate than Portfolio Manager itself. So the kind of the three main steps of Target Finder and how this works is that you go onto Target Finder, you input the information of your building, you input the information on your annual energy use, such as the amount that it can be heated and cooled. It'll ask you quantities of certain types of equipment, along with the actual annual energy use, and it asks you to split it out by fuel type or electricity versus natural gas, etc. And then it'll kind of take this input data and then compare your building to buildings similar to it. It'll adjust it for weather and operating characteristics, and then it'll provide you with the Energy Star score along with that Statement of Energy Design Intent report. So Target Finder, in addition kind of to this, being a compliance path, has kind of various applications that you can use it for kind of throughout the phase of your building. So either for new construction buildings and also with existing buildings. For new construction, you can use it in the pre-design phase to kind of determine what the associated energy use would be for your performance level goals. So say, you wanted to use 90 as your reference point, you would input your building information, but not input your expected annual energy use. You would just submit that you wanted to achieve a score of 90. And then when you ask for, the resulting report, it would tell you the breakdown of energy that would be associated with a score of 90. In addition, during the design phase, and this is where it mainly comes in with DRI and New York Forward, you can use Target Finder to evaluate your building's performance based on similar buildings by putting in your expected annual energy use that you calculated through a building energy model. For existing buildings, you can use it in kind of three ways. The first being to estimate the impact of certain upgrades or improvements. So for example, if you had a very leaky building with not a very good building envelope, you could say, okay, if I'm going to save 10%, for example, on my heating energy use throughout the winter season or heating season, what would that get me to? If I'm at a 50 now, does that bump me up to 65? If I'm at 75 now, can that get me actually to an 80, 85, for example? And so you can kind of toggle and see what you're considering as far as improvements, what you might estimate that to kind of reduce your energy load, and then see what those impacts are. In addition, you can also use Target Finder to assess a property before purchase. So if you have an existing building with, and you're able to obtain a year of utility data, then you could also see just how that building is currently, what's its Energy Star score. And then finally, you can set an Energy Star score goal, sorry, by determining, again, similar to the new construction, like what would this energy usage need to be if I wanted to achieve a certain Energy Star score. I do also want to mention some constraints with using Target Finder, and these are limitations that we, have come across and understand, and to, enable you to still pursue this path, even if you don't meet some of these criteria. We've provided some workarounds. So the two main limitations are that there are a minimum number of dwelling units for multifamily housing, which is 20 dwelling units. So it's you have a building with only 12 or 15 dwelling units, you could scale up the actual number along with the associated energy use, and then that would kind of give you a representative Energy Star score if your building were larger and met the criteria. Also, there is not there is a mixed use building option in Target Finder, but it's a little bit deceptive because it will not actually give you an Energy Star score. So if you are also trying to model a mixed use building, you have to select the specific building use types that are part of your building. So for example, if you had a split of office and retail space on a first floor, and then you had a few upper floors with apartments, then you would select both. You would actually be selecting 3 building types within Target Finder, which would be your office space, your retail, and your multifamily. And then you would give the associated square footage and then overall energy use for each of those building types. Again, one other constraint with this is that there are also square footage constraints for different types of space types. So for example, office space and retail requires having a minimum of 1,000 square feet. So say your first floor was 500 square feet of both office space and retail in your mixed use building, you would also need to scale up that portion, both the square footage and then energy use, so that you could actually obtain a target or Energy Star score using Target Finder. So now I'm going to actually switch over to Target Finder itself so that I can walk you through a demonstration of what it looks like and how you use it. Let's see. There we go. Okay. So as you can see, it says Energy Star Portfolio Manager. This is really the Target Finder tool, as you can see in the URL above. And then as you can also see right here. So we'll just write in demo. Oh, that's strange. Oh, we're not in Algeria. Let's see, my toggle button is elsewhere, a different screen. There we go. Do it that way. There we go. New York. And we'll use just zip code in Watertown. But our construction year is 2025. We'll select an office type building and say we're over the 5,000 square feet, and we'll use just over 8,000 square feet. You could select, you have the option of selecting if your building is just part of a building that you're trying to simulate, or if your building is just one complete building, or if you're actually looking at more than one building, and then it offers you some campus guidance. But for this sake, we'll just say one building. Here's where you could add another use type. So this it's not actually showing on the screen, but it does give you a drop down. And if you wanted to select, say, for example, that you had a movie theater as part of it, then you could select this and then click add. And then another one of these boxes will generate down below and then allows you to input that building type as well. But we will just continue on with office use for now. So this will be the total that we already use, which I think just say above 8,000 square feet. And then here's where you can select, oh, sorry, I didn't mention, you can also, in this section above, it does only give you these as required. So if it has a red star next to it, those are the only ones that are required. So as you can see, I have just been going through and not filling out all of the information for the sake of this demonstration. However, it is best to put in as much information as you have specifically for the values that have this star next to it, because this goes into generating the actual Energy Star score. So you can select to use a default, or you can also put in your own information if you have something that's more representative of your building. So we'll say that it is operating 70 hours a week with 35 employees and has 40 computers available. We'll say that 50% or more is cooled, along with 50% or more that can be heated in the building. So down in this next section allows you to add and select different types of energy uses. So here you can see add another, and you could select different coal, etc., solar, wind, fuel oil, natural gas. But right now we'll say that we have an all electric building that is measured in kWh. And we will say that we're using 84,000 kWh per year. Also, you have the option to input your utility rate, but that doesn't really go into calculating the actual score. And then in the final section, you can select your target. So we say that we have a target of 90, and then you would select view results. See if I need to refresh that. Hopefully that goes through. Let's see. Apologies for the technical difficulty. See if it works this time. There we go. Okay. So I selected view results, and you receive this next screen, which says, congratulations, your project is eligible and your design score is 90. So then this also gives you a little bit more information on the source EUI of your building, and the site EUI. It tells you kind of where you stand in respect to a median property type, similar to yours. Gives you a little bit, and again, more information. This is your design project. Had we not achieved a 90, it would also give you this comparison between your design target. So as you can see, we were on track with our design target. but it also references the median property type towards the one that you selected. Here you have the option of, I want to create an account, or if you already have an account in Portfolio Manager, you can merge it and save your design or not save your design. But overall, what is needed is selecting this download and print statement. So this is the statement of energy design intent, and downloading this provides you with the report that is what we need submitted as part of the compliance path. Now I'll switch back to the presentation and we can close out and then open it up for questions. So in summary, the Energy Star pathway is a kind of simple, straightforward option for DRI and New York Forward that is best for buildings that are expected to have a low building energy use intensity, or EUI. It is a little bit less complicated overall potentially than following, like, for example, the New York Stretch Code, which is very detailed and has a lot of requirements for specific aspects of your building. So this one's kind of just looking at the overall performance of your building. Does it meet a certain energy goal or not? By pursuing this path also sets you up well for using Portfolio Manager in the future, so that you can continue to track your building energy use and use that great tool. And finally, here's the contact information for the others on my team, as well as myself and the regions that we oversee. So you can reach out to any of us for questions or more information. As I believe I mentioned, we'll be posting a video shortly that shows the ComCheck process. This video will be made available, and we'll have some future webinars on the other compliance paths. And with that, I'll open it up to any questions that we have.
I'm not seeing any questions in the chat at this time, but we can give folks a couple of seconds if they want to pop any questions in the chat.
Great.
Not seeing any questions coming through. Again, this webinar was recorded. We will post it up on our website. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We hope this was really helpful for you. So thank you so much.
Thanks.